Thor Love and Thunder hits the cinemas this week, but does this movie flick too hard, damn it? Or does it not flick hard enough? My name is Tom, and this is my review for Thor Love and Thunder. So, Thor Love and Thunder is the fourth movie in the Thor franchise. Once again, Chris Hemsworth is back as Thor, accompanied this time by his old ex-girlfriend, Jane Foster. Then you have Valkyrie and my personal favorite MCU character, Korg, accompanying them along the way, as well as the Guardians of the Galaxy. So, Thor Love and Thunder. What did I think about this movie? This is a movie that ultimately I enjoyed. I had a good time with this movie. I really did. And by the way, this is a spoiler-free review. I will not be talking about spoilers in this video, so you are safe. I don't quite like this movie as much as something like a Thor Ragnarok. I don't think it's better than Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok to me is still pretty far above Thor Love and Thunder, but Thor Love and Thunder is quite a good entry into the Thor franchise. This movie definitely goes a lot further than Ragnarok. Like, people thought Ragnarok pushed the boundaries of a Thor movie, especially with all the wacky comedy and the vibrancy of it and the craziness of that movie. If Ragnarok went to 11, this movie goes to 15. It can feel like just outright silly at times, and I don't mean that necessarily in a negative way, because there are moments in this movie where the silliness really works, and there's some really good comedy throughout the film as well. Especially, like, Chris Hemsworth in this movie might be the funniest he's ever been as Thor. And then, of course, you have, someone like Korg, played by Taika Waititi, who is also hilarious in this movie. But there are moments in this film where the comedy and the silliness of it kind of overtakes certain scenes and certain moments in this movie. Certain scenes and moments that I thought should have been played a little bit more serious. And at times, the film can sort of feel like it's a bit of a parody of itself. I wish they had just pulled back a little bit on the comedy in this movie, because it does go a little too far. Not to say it wasn't funny, just to say that I think at certain times they went a bit too far with it and did a bit too much too quickly with it. And so unlike Ragnarok, I don't think this film strikes the right balance between the seriousness and the heaviness, especially with a character like Gorr the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, who is great in this film. It can feel kind of jarring at times, because Gorr's scenes are not played for comedic effect. Like, nothing about Gorr or that character is at all funny. It is terrifying. It's creepy as all hell. And he is a really threatening presence on screen. And so when they cut between what Thor and the Guardians are up to, for example, versus what Gorr is up to, it's almost like two different Thor movies coming together, like being merged together, and it doesn't always work. The contrast between the seriousness of what Gorr's doing versus the comedic, lightheartedness of some of the Thor stuff in this film, it doesn't always work, and it doesn't always feel like it's the same movie. And I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it didn't always work for me. Now, let me talk about Natalie Portman here for a second. Natalie Portman as the mighty Thor, even though it's still Jane Foster, she's great in this film. And for the first time ever in a Thor movie, I like the chemistry between Natalie Portman and Chris Hemsworth. Despite the fact that I'm actually a Thor the Dark World defender, I like that movie. But those two they've never really been able to get that romantic relationship to work in these films, despite the best efforts of Natalie and Chris Hemsworth. But in this movie, those two, the chemistry between them is on point. You feel it, and it's great. And I love their dynamic, and all the action scenes with Jane Foster kicking ass and Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie. I love Valkyrie in this movie. Like, especially when you get into all the stuff with Russell Crowe as Zeus, which that is a great scene. And let me just touch on the goats, because if you've seen the trailers, you know that there are screaming goats in this movie. The goats are awesome. The goats are awesome. They are great. They make me laugh. It's really funny. I love what they did with the goats. I can't wait to see if they bring the goats back or not. I don't know. There are a few things in this movie that, like, I'm not super in love with this movie, right? I think I still like Multiverse of Madness better. I still prefer something like a Spider-Man No Way Home, but Thor Love and Thunder, it's a good time. It's a fun movie. It's enjoyable. I quite like it. I don't super love it. Like I really wanted to, like going in after something like Thor Ragnarok, I was expecting to really love this movie, and I didn't. but I quite like it. And so I would recommend seeing Thor Love and Thunder. I'm not here to shit on this movie at all by any stretch of the imaginations. I have my issues with it, but I still think the good vastly outweighed the bad for me. Thor Love and Thunder, a very good time. That'll do it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't been here before, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell so you never miss out on my take on all things movies, and, you know, spread the love and the thunder. And my name is Tom, and I will see you guys next time.